The ISS is a triumph of human engineering, but perhaps more importantly, it's a triumph of international collaboration. Alliances across 15 countries have kept a sustained human presence in low Earth orbit for over 25 years. And this collaboration continues as we set our sights on the moon and then Mars. Let's give a round of applause to the engineers, scientists, and administrators that have kept that beacon of collaboration alive.
Before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to The Red Verdict, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest commentary. Today we're looking at a Harvard speech that is getting a lot of attention across the country, and honestly, this one surprised me. In an era where so many commencement speeches turn into political lectures, culture war talking points, or partisan attacks, this speaker took a completely different route. A Navy SEAL, doctor, astronaut, and Harvard graduate stood before an audience and delivered a message about service, sacrifice, faith, family, accountability, and personal responsibility. Whether you're conservative, liberal, or somewhere in between, there are some powerful lessons here that deserve to be discussed. Let's get into it.
Thank you, Will, for the very kind introduction. President Garber, Provost Manning, distinguished speakers, honored guests, and most importantly, fellow alumni. Good afternoon. I am incredibly humbled to be here with you all today on Earth. To see old friends, reminisce about the past, and ponder our future. I've had the privilege of wearing different uniforms in my 42 years. From war-torn battlefields, to emergency departments, to cockpits and spacecrafts. Through it all, I've made many mistakes and learned many lessons. But before I begin, I have a confession. I'm a bit of a procrastinator. I'm sorry, Mom, that never went away. I finally sat down to write this after watching Conan O'Brien's recent commencement speech. Perhaps to help me get over my procrastination, my lovely wife urged me to watch it together. And between the laughs, his message of humility and impact over accolades really resonated with me. Dang it, Conan, you're so funny and wise. But his message was for the college graduates. We are alumni. We've got it figured out, right? The truth is, I certainly do not. And I struggled with what I could possibly offer such a diverse and accomplished audience, especially to our alumnus from the class of 1946, Mr. Dubé. Sir, you should be up here. I want to hear what you have to say. From one sailor to another, go Navy, and happy birthday. Just 6 months ago, I was wrapping up an 8-month mission aboard the International Space Station. The ISS is a triumph of human engineering, but perhaps more importantly, it's a triumph of international collaboration. Alliances across 15 countries have kept a sustained human presence in low Earth orbit for over 25 years. And this collaboration continues as we set our sights on the moon and then Mars. Let's give a round of applause to the engineers, scientists, and administrators that have kept that beacon of collaboration alive. Orbiting our planet at 17,000 miles per hour, I witnessed our planet's raw majesty. Epic storms, volcanic eruptions, vast oceans, and cities glowing like the constellation, all crowned by the vibrant auroras that paint the sky in colors beyond imagination. Yet through it all, I never saw distinct borders. I just saw a fragile, beautiful planet suspended in the darkness of our solar system. The overwhelming realization that everyone you have ever known and will ever love shares this same spaceship we call Earth. The overview effect is the coined term. Sometimes I'd look out from the space station cupola window and relax my focus on the mission, and instead ground my focus right here with my beautiful wife and our amazing 3 children, knowing that beneath the clouds, there were the very people that gave my life its gravity. But you don't have to go to space to understand the weight of our shared humanity. Long before I ever put on a spacesuit, it was here, in the halls of the hospital, wearing a white coat, or as an operator in the SEAL teams, that I learned the fundamental truth about service. True service isn't about the uniform you wear, the title you hold, the altitude you reach. It is simply about the person next to you. I am the son of immigrants who came to this great country to build a better life for their children. And while the fall of the Twin Towers during high school certainly called within me an action to serve, my calling to become a Navy SEAL was for an embarrassingly simple reason. I wanted to be a superhero. A little tongue-in-cheek, but as a kid, I was infatuated with comic superheroes. I wanted to be like the incorruptible, self-reliant Batman fighting injustice. But in the extreme environments I've spent my life as an adult, I learned that the solo hero myth is dangerous. Whether you're relying on the Marine next to you in a firefight, the nurse during a code blue, or your crewmates in the vacuum of space. Survival demands absolute trust in others. True strength is found in recognizing you cannot do this alone. Being a Navy SEAL was one of the greatest honors of my life, and it gave me the tools to forge my own path and the chance to serve, albeit in the only way I knew how at the time. But the price was high. There was trauma, pain, and a darkness that enveloped me, bearing my boyhood dreams of ever being a superhero for good. That brings me to the first lesson I'd like to share. Mistakes and tragedy can be the spark for new purpose. The battlefield is unforgiving. Decisions are made in split seconds with imperfect data. Operating with the information I had and with the absolute intention of protecting my unit, I made a decision that took a life. And I was wrong. And despite being cleared by an investigation that I operated within the rules of engagement, nothing will take away that my actions caused irreparable harm. I'm not the victim of this tragedy. I caused it. And it's a weight I rightfully deserve to carry for the rest of my life. Perhaps driven by guilt or a Sisyphean mission of atonement, I pivoted to medicine, hoping to uplift others, but I wasn't ready to heal anyone. In an effort to stay resilient, I had built layers of armor to protect myself, still trying to be that solo superhero. But you can't heal the vulnerable without being vulnerable yourself. The greatest gift this amazing institution, Harvard, has given me is not my medical education or the prestige that follows. It is that the people at Harvard helped pull me out of the darkness and into the light, and did it through something I had long considered a weakness: empathy. To my classmates and professors who took time to understand how I got in the dark hole I was in, and sometimes sit with me in it, thank you for being a part of my journey, and for extending grace I may not have always deserved. This taught me my second lesson: empathy and vulnerability are superpowers that can heal. True superpowers don't require us to put armor on. They require us to take our armor off. Remember the overview effect I talked about earlier, of how looking at our planet from space can give a macro view of our shared physical existence and that sense of unity it brings? Empathy is the micro view of that same phenomenon. And extending grace and understanding to others is how we recognize our shared emotional existence and begin to build human connection, which leads to bridges. Learning this forced me to re-examine other virtues I thought I had understood, like loyalty. In the SEAL teams, we use brotherhood as a metaphor of the unbreakable trust that every teammate will surrender their ego to prioritize the mission and team above their own lives. As a young SEAL, brotherhood meant absolute unconditional loyalty. Today, I realize that placing unconditional loyalty in humans, fallible by nature, is an impossible burden. Our unconditional allegiances are best reserved for our shared ideals, to moral and ethical values, to veritas, and if of faith, to God. Because whether we are navigating the vastness of space, setting our sights to the moon or Mars, or facing the uncertainties of tomorrow right here at home, it ultimately comes down to treating each other with respect and kindness. It is precisely during these times, hard times, that our character matters most. No matter what new technology comes our way or how much AI takes over, there is one thing that it will never be able to replicate: integrity, humility, trust. These aren't just lessons I want my own children to live and learn. These are lessons I am still actively trying to live out. They are our moral compass, our North Star. As I said, you don't need to wear a uniform, carry a gun into battle, save a life, or blast off into space to serve or understand our shared humanity. Service shows itself in the quiet, unseen acts of kindness and everyday grace. If you ask me today who my superhero is, I'd say my mom. She faced her hardships in life, business, and health with a courage, strength, and faith in God that rivals the toughest warriors I have ever known. Despite having many reasons to be cold to a world that was sometimes unkind to her, she remained compassionate, generous, and above all, morally courageous. I lost my mom to cancer about a month ago. And my whole life, I've looked to fictional characters or out into the world for heroes to emulate when my biggest superhero was always right there by my side. Mom, I love you, and I wish I had told you that you were my superhero. To my fellow alumni, excuse me. To my fellow alumni, I leave you with a call to action. Be the superhero you wish to become. When you walk through the Dexter Gate on your way out, look at the inscription from Charles Eliot. Depart to better serve thy country and thy kind. Always lead with your heart. Take off your armor. Exercise empathy, especially towards people you disagree with. It is the only path by which we can coexist, leaving this fragile, beautiful spaceship we call Earth better than we found it. Thank you.
One of the first things that stood out to me about this speech was the speaker's humility. Think about this for a moment. We're talking about someone who has served as a Navy SEAL, practiced medicine, and spent months aboard the International Space Station. Most people would be tempted to spend an entire speech talking about their accomplishments. Instead, he immediately begins by talking about his mistakes. That matters. One of the biggest problems in modern society is that too many public figures never admit fault. Everything is somebody else's fault. Everything is blamed on circumstances, institutions, politics, or the culture. But this speaker took ownership. When he discussed a decision he made in combat that resulted in the loss of life, he didn't hide behind legal investigations or technical justifications. Even though he was cleared by investigators, he openly acknowledged that the consequences of that decision would stay with him forever. As a patriot, I believe personal accountability is one of the foundations of strong character. America was built by people who accepted responsibility, not people who constantly searched for excuses. Another powerful part of this speech was his discussion about service. He talked about serving as a SEAL, a doctor, and an astronaut. But his ultimate conclusion wasn't that greatness comes from titles or achievements. His conclusion was that service is about helping the person next to you. That's a message our country desperately needs right now. Too often we're told that our value comes from status, followers, wealth, or credentials. Yet some of the greatest Americans who have ever lived never became famous. They were parents who sacrificed for their children. They were military members who never made headlines. They were teachers, firefighters, police officers, nurses, pastors, and small business owners who quietly served their communities every day. That's the real backbone of America. The speaker also talked about seeing Earth from space. Now, some commentators immediately turned discussions like that into political talking points. But that's not what happened here. What he described was something much simpler. He talked about realizing how precious human life is. He talked about recognizing our shared humanity. And while conservatives and liberals may disagree on many issues, I think most Americans can agree that treating one another with dignity and respect is not weakness, it's strength. One section of the speech that really caught my attention was when he spoke about empathy. Now let's be clear, empathy does not mean surrendering your principles. Empathy does not mean abandoning the truth. Empathy does not mean agreeing with everyone. What empathy does mean is understanding that the people you disagree with are still human beings. As conservatives, we often find ourselves fighting for values that many institutions openly oppose. But if we want to persuade people rather than simply defeat them in arguments, we have to understand where they're coming from. That doesn't mean compromising our beliefs. It means communicating them effectively. The most emotional moment of the speech came near the end. After discussing superheroes and the people he looked up to throughout his life, he revealed who his real hero was, his mother. Then he shared that he had lost her to cancer only a month earlier. You could hear the emotion in his voice. And honestly, that moment hit hard, because for all the achievements this man has accomplished, combat service, medicine, space travel, none of those accomplishments mattered as much to him as the woman who raised him. That's another lesson worth remembering. Our culture often celebrates celebrities, influencers, and powerful politicians. But many of the true heroes in our lives never receive national recognition. They're the parents who worked overtime to provide for their families. They're the grandparents who passed down faith and values. They're the mothers and fathers who sacrificed so their children could have opportunities they never had themselves. Those people are the real heroes. And when the speaker talked about faith, Character, integrity, humility, and trust being things that artificial intelligence can never replace. I think he touched on something profound. Technology will continue to advance. Machines will become smarter. Automation will expand. But character still matters. Honor still matters. Faith still matters. Integrity still matters. Those are values that built America, and they're values worth preserving. In the end, what struck me most about this speech was that it wasn't focused on politics. It was focused on responsibility. It was focused on service. It was focused on gratitude. And perhaps most importantly, it was focused on recognizing that true strength isn't always found in putting on armor. Sometimes it's found in having the courage to take that armor off. That's a lesson Americans on all sides of the political spectrum could benefit from hearing. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like this video, subscribe to The Red Verdict, and let me know in the comments. Who was the greatest hero in your life? And what lesson did they teach you? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next verdict.